partnership was a little one-sided when things got tough. Honestly, I struggled. I dragged it out. I avoided the conversation, the situation. Of course, I didn't want to go what felt like backwards in our company, you know? And became a good friend of mine. Like, even if we never work together again, I think we'll still be friends. So, to navigate this also without trying not to make it personal, trying to explain that you're not getting what you need out of somebody, but it's not personal. It's tough. So they say don't do business with friends. I think this is one situation where it'd be easier not to be friends. So I think just do it. Like that's the best advice. You got to do it. It says you got to do it. Do it, because it felt like 1,000 pounds came off my back once that decision, like the conversation was done. We agreed. It's not personal. We're just beating a dead horse here. The numbers are speaking for themselves. We just got to accept it.
I'm Greg Forzani with Forzani Business Education, and this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast, where we provide insights for more profit and less stress in your business now with the purpose of turning it into a valuable asset. Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. My name is Greg Forzani. I'm here today with Paul Matonis from Vancouver from Postmodern Designs. So before we get into it, Paul, and I want to talk, I think it'd be interesting to talk through your journey in business, because you went from a startup to established business, and then you got into some situations where you had to take some hard decisions, which I think is a great learning lesson for people. But before we get into that, maybe just talk about what is it Postmodern Design does, where are you located? What service area do you service?
For sure. So, we're Postmodern Design. We're located out of Port Coquitlam in British Columbia. So we service most of the Lower Mainland, North Shore, Vancouver, a whole bunch of areas. So, and we were originally a tile installation company and grew into more of a home renovations company while we continue to do commercial tile installations as well. So kind of two-edged sword at this point. And so that's kind of been our challenge, was navigating the two commercial versus residential worlds, and where do we fit in best?
We should talk about that today. I'm going to make a note of that. Okay, so maybe start with, let's just kind of run through your journey. You started as like guy with truck. Maybe talk through that just a little bit.
Yeah, so it was starting up this company was me, guy with truck. I kind of tried to keep good relationships with all the people we worked with when I worked for a construction company to get some business right off the get-go, get myself going. And then we slowly started growing and needed to bring in some help. So started hiring guys, and eventually decided I wanted more help on the back end as well, and thought it was best to look for a partner who had same interests, same goals.
And before you got into the partners thing, your first hires, were they employees or subtrades, or did you do a bit of both?
So we started with subs first, and I kind of wanted to keep it subtrades, so it was more managing, less liability.
Right.
You kind of just manage the guys, go fix your own mistakes instead of having to deal with it directly. So it seemed easier that way. And then again, as we're moving on, like we'll get into for later, I think we might change who we sub out and who we keep in-house. So it was started as subs, and then the partner was somebody because I wanted full-time help. I wanted somebody that wasn't going to be unavailable. There was no questions. I needed him. He was there for me. And so brought him on, and then subbed out more work when we were too busy, continued growing the subcontractors. But ultimately, when things got harder and slower, I found that our partnership was a little one-sided when things got tough. So
and I'm sure
now we're going
that's
to do different.
And actually, sorry, I want to hit pause on. I want to come back to that with startups, because it wasn't that long ago you experienced it. What would be some suggested do's and don'ts you would recommend? And I want to talk about the partner thing. We'll come back to it. But just the startup stage, what would be some do's and don'ts you would suggest a startup company? Like, what are some do's? What are some don'ts from your perspective?
Honestly,
just that you lived through.
Yeah. And I would honestly say, don't get ahead of yourself. Big one. Don't grab more than you can handle.
Can you expand on that? I love that comment. That's a That's a
Yeah,
hard
like
thing to say, but a really wise comment. Expand on that.
yeah, like we found situations where we've overbooked work and needed more help, and then you're struggling to find the right people. You start hitting the bottom of the barrel, and then the problems roll in with those guys. And then
Right.
ultimately, the money made on those jobs is negative by the end of it, and it was never worth
Right.
touching and getting involved. So I'd say if
That's
you're
a
not
hard thing to
ready,
do, though. How do you,
yeah, yeah,
okay, like that? I mean, now you can say that, but someone who hasn't lived that
yeah,
and
how to,
says, well, I'm not going to make the same mistake Paul made.
yeah,
What can you say right now to help them not make that mistake? Even though you're saying don't make it, they're like, well, no, it's not going to happen to
yeah.
me. What would you
I
say to them?
maybe the other industries might be different. For me, I think heavily a big thing was starting that growth and starting to give away work to subcontractors, get more, get off the tools, step back. I think you got to be willing at one point or another to understand you're going to take a pay cut until you're going to fill everyone else's schedule and then catch up on your own until obviously you grow big enough where that's not a problem. But we were in a situation where that was tough for us to do personally. So we kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And it gets tough to grow because every little mistake creates big waves. So I
So
think, yeah,
meaning if especially in trades, labor's the majority of your cost of goods. Like
exactly.
materials is usually kind of negligent compared to
Yeah,
labor.
big time.
So if labor is a majority of your cost of goods and you're biting off more than you can chew kind of too quickly, right? It's not to say
Yeah,
don't grow, just so you grow too quickly.
totally. Yeah,
Then your point is you're getting bottom of the barrel subtrades. Those people make mistakes
exactly.
or overpromise, underdeliver, or like all the stuff they do wrong.
Yeah.
And that means that because they're making mistakes, you gotta pay maybe somebody else to go fix those mistakes.
Or your
And
own
that's
time.
now on your dime. You gotta pay maybe the guys that made the mistakes to go fix the mistakes.
Yeah.
Maybe the mistakes lead to other subtrade stakes,
Yeah.
which then they come back to you and want you to offset those. The contractor, the customer may come back and say, hey, you caused this, you got to pay for it. And then you're about to say, I think to your point, then you yourself got to go invest time to do it. So that's time you
Exactly.
can't do something else. So all that increases that cost of goods labor. And
Dramatically.
now you're not profitable on the job.
Yeah.
And then
And
maybe not realizing why you're not profitable on the job. And then that carries over the next job and the next job. And you're taking the deposits from the next job to pay for extra
yeah,
cost of goods from the past job, and you're chasing your tail.
totally. Exactly. And this is what I mean.
That's good
Don't bite off
advice.
more than you can chew, right? If you're gonna get these bottom of the barrel guys and they start making mistakes, but you've booked yourself an entirely full schedule and they don't show up to fix it, where do you go from there? You don't have
Right.
time. You've hired the guys that screwed you over in the end, and it becomes like unmanageable in somewhere you take the hit, right?
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good don't for startups.
Yeah.
Anything else you can suggest for startups, do's or don'ts? That was a good one.
Dues, dues, honestly, I think is something that now reconfiguring everything we're going to be much better at. I would honestly say get your margins down immediately and do not stray. Don't budge. Don't let the contractors push. 90% of the time, what I learned, it's not the budget. It's that their own pockets get more money if they get it done for less. While
Right.
they get paid the same amount, squeezing you usually increases their own margin. Nothing to do with the budget of that job.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you say get your own down, you don't mean lower them. You mean
No, I mean like
get the
lock
numbers
them in.
dialed.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Block it in,
Yeah.
don't stray, because we've been generous and 9 times out of 10 bites you in the butt. First time, trying to get a new client, sure. Do them a favor, show them what you do, but then it's gotta be strict.
Yeah, this is a hot button for me, this whole subject, because there's so many things to say about this. I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, yeah, I don't want,
Yeah.
I don't want to throw all contractors under the bus with one comment, but so there's some that fit this description and some that don't. But let's just say I believe the majority of contractors, when they're hiring subs, I think the majority of contractors, to your point, don't have their margins down. They don't know where their margins need to be to like 100% to be profitable. So the first problem. And then I think that leads to, if they don't know the pricing, And then they also do what you just said, which is take on too much work, go hire poor subtrades. And by the way, I think they get a lot of poor subtrades because they bid the work out and they often go with the cheapest one.
Exactly.
So the cheapest one doesn't make any money. Cheapest one doesn't know what they're doing. Cheapest one makes a lot of mistakes. So then the contractor has to, what you just said, fix all that, which then erodes the contractor's margins. And then the contractor is going to take that on their next job and try and get higher margins to offset the lower margins from the previous job. And they keep going after the lowest bid to get their margin up to compensate for lack of profit from previous jobs. So I think you're right. They're trying to get higher margins, but I think in many cases they're trying to do it to offset losses from previous jobs.
100%.
So
Yeah.
then they
think
delay
that's
your payments.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is what it's important too, like that you don't need to be the cheapest one.
No,
It's shocking how many times someone goes with the cheapest one and then calls you later to come back and fix it.
exactly. And okay, so how do you recommend a subtrader or even just a trade that gets hired?
Yeah.
How do you recommend how do you get that point across to the person hiring you who's like, no, gotta be the cheapest.
So
Like, how do you learn to dig your heels in
yeah,
to say no?
I use this whole experience card too. I tell them I know we're not the cheapest, but it's because one, you'll get a warranty with us. Two, we'll stand by our work. You'll have us here if you have deficiencies. We'll always pick up your calls. We'll never ignore you no matter what's happened. I know we're not the cheapest, but you'll be shocked, like I said earlier, how many times people call us back because the cheapest screwed up.
Right.
Or the cheapest presented them with hidden costs that came after.
There's the curveball. There's the, oh yeah, I'm the cheapest today. And then the job gets going. It's like, oh, but I got this thing over here. And then all of a sudden these hidden costs come up and they're no longer the cheapest. Plus they end up being unprofessional and screwing things up. And so I think your point is dig your heels in, know your worth, but maybe really understand how to explain it to them. Like, be confident and knowledgeable explaining to them that those mistakes will cost more than the price difference between me and the cheapest. And they're going to piss their customer off.
Totally. And on that note, know your customer, right? If they're going to not accept anything other than the cheapest, maybe they're not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's other fish in the sea. Keep looking.
Totally.
Maybe that's not the one you need to undercut yourself just to land the work, right?
And I go back to what I said earlier. I think, to add to your point, the ones that are solely looking for the cheapest most likely are not making that much money. And therefore they're scrambling job to job and they're probably going to delay your payment to a point where you're desperate enough to do a discount to get paid. Like, it's the old thing. I know this is a strategy by those companies. They'll look for the cheapest subtrade that they'll find that subtrade that'll say yes. Then they'll say, and I can pay you in 90 days, which, question for you, how many days are you allowed to put a lien on the job and then you lose it?
45.
Okay. So they're going to tell you the payment terms are later than the 45 days. And then they're going to tell you, don't put a lien because we agreed I pay you in 60 or 90 or whatever. And then when the time comes, because of the way they operate their business, they're not profitable, where everybody's thinking they're profitable. Everybody from the outside looking in is like, oh, they're making so much money, but they're probably not. And then they push you to 90 days and then they push you to 60 days. You agree, you don't put a lien on the property. Then on day 61, you don't get paid. And you're like, where's my money? They're like, oh, well, it missed the thing and the whatever and some paperwork, blah, blah, blah. So next pay run, in 2 weeks, you'll get paid. Okay. 2 weeks comes along, haven't got paid yet. Hey, what's going on? Oh, the person writing the checks, whatever, like on holidays, the thing and sorry, be the next pay run. And then the next one comes along. It's like, hey, what's going on? Oh, the person signing off on this found a discrepancy. We got to look into it. Can you please send us this paperwork to back up your claim? This is how much we owe you. And then another 2 weeks comes along and you're like, hey, what do I got to do to get paid? They're like, well, and then you're like, I'm desperate. I need the money now. And because the subtrade accepted the cheapest price, they're not making any profit. So they've already had to pay their cost of goods and their expenses. So now they're desperate for cash. And they go, I'll tell you what, if you can pay me this week, I'll give you a 15% discount. Then all of a sudden, the check's in the courier. It'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yep,
and they
exactly.
keep screwing the subtrades, and it's all because they're unorganized themselves. This is a strategy they do, and people just don't
Big
realize
time.
it.
And these big developers, at least here in Vancouver, you get any kind of deposit for undone work or material that's not yet on site, pulling teeth. They don't give you
Right.
money. They won't pay for material until the last bag of grout's on site.
Yeah.
But they'll lock it in their garage and hold it there without paying you.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so you got to be confident to dig your heels in. And I think the moral of the story there is you got to know your numbers, know your margins, like you said, know what margin you need to get to cover your operating expenses so you can make a profit, and be knowledgeable enough you can look them in the eye and tell them what's wrong with that situation of you taking the cheapest price or the longest terms. And I guess another one is not to be afraid to say, I'll accept this contract, whatever you agree on, but on day 44, if I'm not paid, I got to put a lien on the property. I cannot jeopardize my company by extending past that 45 days.
Exactly. Yeah. Got to look out for yourself.
Yeah. So then, okay, so we got a little sidetracked there, went on a long, but any other do's and don'ts of startups you can think
Do's
of?
and don'ts. I think, like I said, stay in your lane, grow at the pace you're comfortable, don't overstretch. And I think maybe, talk to everyone along the way. So if you have these growth opportunities, maybe you have some guys in your back pocket. You're ready to call anytime.
Right. So
Yeah.
I got a coworker joining me here.
Nice. Yeah.
And he'll be
Perfect.
super calm and good till Amazon drives by, and then nobody's going to be able to hear anything because he's going to lose his mind. So, okay. So then I like that. That was a really good piece of advice there. Get to know the crews and companies along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm just repeating what you said, but I think that was important so that when you do have to extend past what you can handle, you know who's good and who's not. That's really good advice.
And you know who's happy where they are and who's not.
Right.
And who you can take away from somebody, and you know what they're looking for if you talk to them, right?
Yeah. So when you're ready to expand and bring people on board, yeah, I love that. Love that. Okay. So then things are rolling along and you talked about getting into a partnership, right?
Yeah.
And so let's talk through that. What are some reasons people believe they need a partner or want a partner?
Yeah. So in our situation, I was in a situation it was too much for me. I couldn't keep up with the office and going out and being out in the field, supervising guys trying to get things done. It was impossible. I had a week where I clocked in 90 hours. I didn't know when I slept. It was just too much. I was making a lot of mistakes. I needed help. Like it wasn't manageable. So brought on a partner who was originally a tile installer, had his own company. We took our two revenues, meshed them together, divided the company according to that, and started working together. So we had a clear division of roles. I was going to work the back end, look for jobs, do the marketing, do the sales stuff, profit tracking. He was going to be hands-on, manage the guys, go get work done, deliver materials, go, deal with deficiencies, make sure things are running smooth. And while we were busy, it worked fabulously. We grew, we were able to manage our roles, everything was fine. Then Vancouver had this fun little hiccup in the commercial world, right when we tried to move most of our work into the commercial world. And we were dead in the water for a couple of months, good 2.5 months with only little jobs here and there to fill some time, but nothing to keep anyone busy. So ended up laying off any employees that we had, stuck strictly to subs, and realized we're at a point where I'm trying and I wasn't getting enough from the partner on the back end, which was the deal. It was the deal. My responsibility. His was out in the field. But when there's nothing in the field, doing nothing doesn't cut it either.
Right.
So that's where we kind of ran into a hiccup. And so we decided it's best we split the partnership, continue working together. He just goes back to being a subcontractor, do work when there is work, but there's no obligation on the company to pay him when there is none.
Right.
And that was something that was drowning us, having to get paid to keep our personal finances afloat while we're not getting enough work. And the company just had way too much pressure. So we found it was a mutual decision. This will be better and easier to manage moving forward, and it gives us the freedom to go whatever direction we want. we're not, pulling each other along if we have different opinions on stuff. We work well together and we're going to continue doing that. But the
Right.
partnership it just didn't cut it. I found my office spouse was doing more partner activities than my partner.
Right. So let's go a little deeper into the steps. So I know we crunch the numbers like crazy, and at the end of the day, the numbers, the scoreboard, whatever words you want to use, dictated like, hey, there needs to be a change, right? These numbers aren't adding up. It's not working. So once we discovered that, it was like, okay, what's the best solution? And it made sense for the company to split ways.
Yeah.
So maybe talk through because now and we'll talk about how you've come out of that and things are good and all that, but you've come out of it, things are good, you're heading in the right direction. But when you're in that situation, it's a hard decision to make, right? Like a tough decision like that's hard, whether it's part from a partner, whether it's terminate a long-time employee, whether it's close a location that's been around for 20 years, whether it's I don't know, whatever, whether it's terminating a contract with a customer that's a really good friend, whether it's stop hiring a certain subtrade, whatever that is that the numbers are saying this is a decision that's got to be made and it's the best decision. How do you, what do you suggest to people to be able to get out of their own way to make that decision? Because they're coming in their head with all the reasons why they can't.
I struggle. I dragged it out. I avoided the conversation, the situation. Of course, I didn't want to go what felt like backwards in our company,
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And became a good friend of mine. Like, even if we never work together again, I think we'll still be friends. So, to navigate this also without trying not to make it personal, trying to explain that you're not getting what you need out of somebody, but it's not personal.
Right. It's hard.
It's tough. So they say don't do business with friends. I think this is one situation where it'd be easier not to be friends.
Yeah.
So I think just do it. That's the best advice. You got to do it. It says you got to do it, because it felt like 1,000 pounds came off my back once that decision, the conversation was done. We agreed. It's not personal. We're just beating a dead horse here. The numbers are speaking for themselves. We just got to accept it. And we agreed together. Thankfully, it was a good decision. And it's like a relief. Don't drag it out. Just do it. You're just digging a hole deeper.
So all that stress, I'm sure once you dug yourself out of the hole, it feels better. But just actually making the decision and having the conversation removed a bunch of the stress, sounds like.
Yeah. And it's because inside it needs to happen, even if you don't want to. And it eats at you. You just can't sleep. For me, at least, I couldn't sleep some nights when we were having a bad week. I couldn't anything. And when it was gone, it was just a relief. It's like I could catch my breath. Like, that part was done.
Right.
On to the next stage,
And did you find, did you find after you made the decision and had the discussion, did you find you personally became more productive?
100%. Because I all of a sudden felt like now I'm putting in the effort and building an asset for me and my family, not pulling somebody along with me. It immediately changed everything. Like, Francesca in the office immediately stepped up more. It's like the drive came back. Now we just need to fix it just for us. We can do anything we want with it, take it anywhere we need it to go. And everything we do is for us. Not someone else is taking a portion of our hard work, but not helping enough.
Right.
So
it's hard,
motivation. Right? Yeah. Take time.
And I think a hidden gem, piece of advice there is I don't know when people make these decisions, if they actually calculate into their decision or factor into it, that once that decision's made, they're going to become more productive, themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
And actually, I think if you have a team, I've even found this in past companies I've had, you make that hard decision. I remember in Calgary, and one of our retail chains had to make that decision, had to get rid of a minority shareholder. And it was a hard decision because, like you said, we became friends, right? And the second the decision was made, I became more productive. The other partner became more productive. But actually, more important than that, the whole team stepped up and became more productive. We actually didn't even need to replace the person, which was crazy. But it builds, I think, when the team knows that there's a member that's, and I know this applies to partnership, but even applies to non-partnership. When the team knows that there's an important position where someone's just not pulling their weight, and the decisions made by the leader or leaders, the whole team seems to step up after that.
Yeah, I feel like that plays a little into kind of like a, I don't even know how to explain it. You know, you kind of get rid of somebody and it makes everyone realize, okay, there is a problem. They're making changes. It's time to change your attitude or we might be the next one out the door.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's also, especially maybe employees might be a little more manageable, but a partner, I feel like it's easier to sink together than to go down alone. And when you're steering that ship alone and it starts going down, you get motivated. But when you're there with somebody going down with you and they don't seem to care, it gets hard to care yourself.
You hit the nail on the head right there. I think that's I think that's insightful. That's a super, I love that. I would agree 100% with that. I think it's easier for a ship to go down with multiple partners than on your own because it was a weird thing, right? But I think you're right. I think it becomes too easy to not be 100% accountable.
There you go.
Well, they'll do some stuff too, right?
Oh, it's their fault.
Just you. You're 100% accountable. So that's a really good point. I think that's
like
super
anybody
insightful.
sitting on the outside looking in, you're on your own. They know you did this. Nobody helped you.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's true. It's totally true.
You screwed up, right? Not your partner. There is none.
Totally. That's a really good point. Yeah, I love that. That's so, and then I tip my hat to you because what's happened now is that ex-partner is now actually a subtrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now he can get work elsewhere, but he can also do work for you when you need him.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's making better money because he's not on fixed salary of any kind. He produces, gets paid. He's got every opportunity to do better, and so do we.
Yeah, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's a really good analogy. My ex-wife, so my ex-marriage, similar situation, right? Two of us, whatever happens, we need to go make money. The two of us, we agree we got to go make money. We have no kids, no responsibility. We didn't even have a living plant to water. Like no pets, no kids, no living plants, no reason not to go be productive at work. And, for whatever reason, she's a great person, but this is one thing, which was she just couldn't get out of her own way to go make money, like to go get a job, just anything to make money, whatever. Let me rephrase. I don't mean like anything, but go get a job, right? So just it went on for like a couple of years, and and then spent a bunch, didn't make any, and then we split, like you and your partner did, and within a month she found a 6-figure job. So,
oh my God! Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
So, but it goes to your point about, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying as an example, I think what you said is insightful. I think it's easier to go down on a ship with two people than on your own, right? Like that one change happens and boom. So to your point, with you and the partner, same kind of thing.
Yeah, big time.
It's an interesting perspective.
In the butt. Yeah, you're on your own now. No one's bailing you out.
Yeah. And it brings this new injection of fire and whatever. Like I got to go make that happen and accountability, and then it works out. That's awesome. It's a really good point. Yeah.
Honestly, the excitement came back a little. We were all, like I said, it was beating a dead horse. We were all at our wits' end. We weren't happy. We weren't excited to do anything. And big contracts didn't excite us anymore. It was just like, okay, at least we got some work going again. Now it's exciting again. Now we look at our margin. I don't have to share it with anybody and everything's great. It's much more exciting.
So I want to ask you this, because this literally came up in a previous podcast, like shortly before this. And so we brought into the discussion working with spouses, which you work with your spouse. So you had a business partner spouse, you and your spouse and a business partner all work together. Scout's Honor, isn't that the symbol for Scout's Honor?
Yeah, I think so.
So what did you find happened? You made a decision to split with the business partner. Now you and your spouse are working together. Did you find that, did a change happen there after that decision? Like with the relationship, how excited the two of you are about the work? Like what did you find changed, if anything?
Honestly, again, that excitement and drive came back. Because now our payment structure with the salaries, everything completely changed. We can manage our finances differently. So all these doors opened up where we can do better. because the company's not getting bled dry and milked as much, right, by two partners.
Right.
So it was almost like, again, a remotivation from her side too. Like, this is now for us. Like, we're not doing it for anybody else. It's for us. The quicker we do it, the quicker we get it where we need to go, the quicker we retire and we're done. We live out the rest of our lives, spend more time with the kids. So it's, nose to the grindstone, get her done fast this time,
It's interesting, right? Because the podcast I just did, it was the same conversation, and we talked about how, like, I don't know, you tell me if you've seen this, but from what I've seen, generally speaking, working with family, people would say, generally speaking, it doesn't work. Like it's like, I think it's either doesn't work, it's shitty, or it's great, but it never seems like there's any in between. When you talk to business owners that work with family, it's either it sucks, it doesn't work, here's the problems, or it's been great. I never hear in between. And I wonder if, like, sorry, let me this point across the again.
Sure.
I wonder if it works when, like, now you're experiencing this, we're together, we're on the same page, we're trying to get to build the company to this thing, like retirement. You already said the words, and you're excited, you're building something together, and that's great. And that's when it works. But when there isn't that clarity of, we're building this together for retirement and the plan's not clear, we're trying to get to this number, like, if there's no clarity around it all and it hasn't been discussed, because I know you and Franny talked about it a lot with this whole partnership thing. It got into, what do you want out of your company? Is it going to help you with retirement? Like, what are you trying to build? All that stuff. By you and Franny having clarity about that, you're excited, you're trying to build something, you're on that page together, it brings excitement. Versus without that clarity, it's like, I work with my spouse and we fight a lot and it's over here, right? So
you have to say, you got to agree. You got to agree where you want to go. And I think splitting the partnership was one of the things that helped us get back on track, because it was one of those things where I just don't want to pull the trigger, but I'm getting shit every week. Look, we can't keep doing this. You got to do it. I can't do it for you. Get it done. Hurry up. This is going nowhere. It has to happen. And so, we butted heads, but I know it has to happen. So it was one of those you just accepted, eventually got done, and that just disappeared. But a big factor too, I think, if you're going to argue about work, do it on work hours. Pick your time. If you got kids, especially now with 2 kids at home, I think we're getting finally better at this. There's a time about 5 to 6, depending how our day is going. That's it. Work's done. We're going making dinner. We're having dinner. We're not bickering about it. We're not arguing. We can start again at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
It's it's like, what's the Looney Tunes commercial with the coyote and the sheepdog or whatever?
Oh, like Roadrunner and Coyote? Or
no, not Roadrunner and Coyote. The one with like a sheepdog, and a coyote. Right? They go to work together, and then Then the coyote goes to try and steal the sheep, and the sheepdog's got to protect the sheep, and they fight the whole time they work, and then they leave work together. Okay, Ralph. See you. Yeah, his name's Ralph. Is Ralph? See you tomorrow.
Like, sorry, I think you have to get to that level, because there's going to be things you're going to fight about work and disagree all the time, or push each other to get things done when you don't have time or don't want to. And it'll happen, especially when kids at home, So I think you got to shut off, and we've not been great at it all the time, but I think it's something we're getting better at.
Yeah. It's hard. Good advice, though. It's a great piece of advice. I love that. Well, now you're more established, you've got a pretty clear path what's going on. Things are starting to go the direction you want to go. Now the partnership's done, less financial stress. So now in that kind of situation, so you're out of startup phase, you're more established. What are some do's and don'ts you recommend from that?
From here, I think really be sure if you're going to partner with somebody. Number one, moving forward. I mean, when we get bigger again, we might want someone again to help, as long as it's the right person. It's going to be a very different decision process this time. I think keep it to yourself is a big one until you really can't do anything. But, without, like, with hires, then you really need some more full-time help that has the same responsibility you do effectively, right?
And really know the difference between, I always say, if you're going to bring a partner on, I think it's got to be am I going to, like, without that person, can I get to where I want to get to?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, let me rephrase. can I hire somebody to help me get there? Or does it need to be this specific person? Without this specific person, I can't get there on my own. Then it's more of a partnership conversation. But if it's someone you can hire, then it's more of a hiring conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I get there a lot faster with that particular person?
Mhm.
And again, the question is, can I hire someone to help me do that? Or do I need to partner for that?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go to the partnership conversation because it feels like the easier path.
I completely agree on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But
And it feels like an
most of the
employee
time it's
you're
not
getting
the
coached.
easier path.
No,
Yeah.
it definitely isn't. It isn't. An employee, you can, there's, they have less leeway, I guess, in the company to mess around. There's no, like, less happens with them that's not good because it almost feels like they don't have the same kind of pull to mess around.
Right.
Well, yeah, I would definitely do that very differently. And also, I guess, big one like now in our regrowth, keeping up with price changes, especially in our economy here in BC now. We're literally adjusting prices like monthly.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. Like there's no, well, anyway, where do I even begin?
Especially right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. 95% of businesses fail. And the definition of that is they close or go bankrupt. Like 90 to 95%. That means of all of us, for every 10 businesses we know, 9.5 of them are going to close or go bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And there's lots of reasons, but without question, the number one reason, without question, is they don't understand where their margin percent has to be relative to their operating expenses. They haven't, to your point earlier, done that calculation and know that. So, and I will argue that point with anybody on planet Earth. It is the number one freaking reason businesses go bankrupt. So if that's number one, then the point you just brought up becomes ultra important because like we have one client, they build boat trailers, and in the 2020, let me think here, like right around 2021 maybe, there was a period of time, it was after the COVID bullshit hit, and I don't even want to bring up that conversation.
Yeah.
After that hit, there was a period of time where there's lots of closures and this and that and the other thing, and then they just kind of started opening everything back up, letting everybody kind of do their business, and then they hammered the crap out of fuel prices and freight, and then the price of everything on the planet just went like this. That boat trailer company, because to your point, adjust your pricing. So I'm sharing a real story they did. Over about 9 months, their prices, their cost of goods for aluminum, tires, brake pads, wiring, whatever they're putting in, increased by like 36 or 38%. But not like one day. Yeah. It was, to your point, every single order, the prices did that. Can you imagine if they didn't do what you just said a minute ago, which is adjust their pricing with every order?
Crazy. It'd be a whole margin.
Bankrupt. Yeah. Yeah. They're bankrupt. Like if their costs go up 39% in 9 months or 38 or whatever percent in 9 months, and they don't make any pricing adjustments, they're bankrupt. They're done. Just like that. Like I have another client's a distributor, and one container, so they buy containers of the product. They distribute pop. They buy a container of pop out of the southern US, goes in a container, goes in the back of a truck. So a truckload. One truckload, don't quote me exactly here, but I believe I'm pretty close. In that same time period that the boat trailer stuff went up, one truck from southern US to Alberta changed from 2,500 to like 14,500 or something.
Whoa.
One truck's transportation fee.
That's one month.
If that doesn't get equated to the price of the product they sell, now it happened over 9 months, right? So it was like went from 2,500 to 3,500 to 5,500. But if they didn't adjust their pricing accordingly along the way, they're bankrupt. There's two examples. I know the numbers pretty well. They're gone. So to your point, like those two businesses, every single order that came in, they ran the pricing tool, adjusted their numbers, adjusted their pricing because their margin has to be a certain amount over their expenses. So as their expenses go up, they raise this. As expenses go up, they had to. You got the profit's always going to be there. And because they did that, they adjusted every single order. They actually did really well. They thrived all the way through it. So,
and I think you got it to that point too. Don't be afraid to adjust it and hike it up if you have to, at the fear of losing clients or customers.
Well, because your customers go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
They see the
Exactly. Yeah.
Like at the grocery store, I'm exaggerating here, but the grocery store, literally, they had full-time staff, and this is an exaggeration, but they had full-time staff. While you're buying groceries, they're changing the prices in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but not really. Like every time I went to the grocery store, prices are higher. So your customer like if you're going
They
through inflation,
understand.
your customer knows. They know
Yeah.
this. How can they expect you not to go through inflation?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I think it says don't, reduce things a little bit because prices went up just to keep your price similar so your clientele stays happy. It is what it is. It's happening to everyone. Stick to it.
Yeah. Now that's boy, if that's just one thing anybody takes away from this podcast, that's number one by far. As
Big
your
time.
prices go up, adjust your prices. Like as your costs go up, adjust your prices. As your expenses go up, adjust your prices. You have to do that.
And
It should
I know,
literally be part of every 90-day planning.
and I know your labor cost, especially for like trades labor, that's a little tougher. Increasing your labor costs slowly to make sure they're still making a good living salary and wage. I think that's the one where in our world, it becomes easier to squeeze yourself. Sure, you mark up your materials because they went up in price, but why can't you do it a little cheaper for me and keep the budget the same? You know what I mean? I think that's the one it's harder to navigate when and how much you increase those costs, not just material.
So meaning, let me say this back to you, meaning as a service-based business, as your labor costs, as your own labor costs go up, not to be afraid to increase the price to the
And
customer.
if you're like, for example, $10 a square foot for installing tile, you're paying someone $5 now, great. That's 100% markup, 50% margin more than you need. You can negotiate, get up to $650. The margin's still there, but at what point is now all of it got to go up to make everyone happy? You know what I mean? I think that has been the harder leap to take, to go, okay, we're no longer gluing tile for $10. It's now minimum 12 because no one will show up to do it for less than 6.
And I think the answer is a combination of a few things we've already talked about today, which is treat the billable hour like material. Just treat it the same, because
that's something we're learning now is billable hours. You have to.
Yeah, because QuickBooks sees it as the same thing. QuickBooks sees a billable hour and a box of tile is the same thing. QuickBooks doesn't differentiate between the two.
Cost of goods,
which
right?
means your P&L, exactly. Your P&L doesn't differentiate. So if you treat the labor as such, just as prices go up, you got to increase your price and keep the margin the same. It's just got to work its way up. And then I would combine that with something you said earlier about kind of digging your heels in and know your numbers and be confident. I think a big part of it for small businesses, having the knowledge to be able to articulate that to your customer where it makes sense. I think that's the key. I think a lot of small businesses lose it because they don't know how to argue their point, if that makes sense. Kind of think of it like I always say, think of it like a trial lawyer. How are you going to present this to a jury and win the case? So whatever this decision, this thing you got to go present to your customer, your vendor, whatever, how are you presenting it as though it's a law case, they're a jury, and you got to present it. You got to know your shit. You got to, that subject, you got to know it 3-dimensionally. You got to be able to present it so it makes sense. And then they actually can't argue with you because they can't argue back to you, because if they do, they're basically telling you to make a bad decision. Like they can't look you in the eye and say to you, make a bad decision. They can say, do this because, but if you've argued your case really well or presented it really well, then they actually can't tell you to make a bad decision. Like, 100%. And if they do, then move on to somebody else.
And I think that knowing your customer, again, how you present the quote can kind of have an influence, I feel, on whether you're going to land that job. So someone who's picky and has a million questions, break it out. Every material line, every labor line, everything. So you can see why it adds up to so much, that none of them are outrageous individual costs. It just adds up to a lot. Someone who's simple, I have a budget of $35,000, get it done. Present it as a lump budget. They're not curious to dig. And then you can put some more budgets and margins for yourself in that lump sum, right?
Right.
But yeah, I found I've shot myself in the foot being honest with a simple situation, like allocating labor and material costs away from drywall and mudding to electrical where they actually belonged at the end of the project. Instead, got a earful of thanks for saving us money on the drywall. Why is the electrical more? I was, but it's the overall price is still less than what we agreed upon. But why is the electrical more? It's not what we signed on, but I saved you money on drywall. I don't care.
Right.
So sometimes if they don't ask, don't adjust. Just go with it. You can shoot yourself in the foot. I honestly divided up, saved overall contract price, still had to eat some more electrical, for being honest.
Oh, yeah. So you've been through, as a small business, the commercial and residential customer path. What's some advice you could give trades companies that are listening to this about dealing with commercial and dealing with residential, and like, what are your do's and don'ts, suggestions, advice on that subject?
So honestly, home renovations, it's all TLC. Be nicer than the other people. Care more about whoever space you're working in, and you'll do better than the rest of the guys.
Right.
Just treat it like your home, is the way I tell the guys. If you wouldn't want them doing this in your house, don't do it in their house. And sometimes
I can tell you as a customer, man, I agree with that totally.
Yeah. And you know what? Even if you would do it in your house, sometimes just think about it first.
Yeah. Is it the right thing to do in their house?
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're a little more TLC attention. And
sorry, before you continue, like, so I coach businesses for a living. Probably in 16 years, half my clients have been trades. I'm absolutely so I'm not talking about my clients. I'm talking about as a customer of trades businesses in the world. Because as a customer, I've been the customer of a lot of trades businesses in the different cities I've lived in. And it blows my mind. It literally actually feels like, and I don't know, tell me if this is true. And we'll go back to what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. But it feels like they have the attitude that, like, they treat it like I'm so lucky they just came and actually did my stuff.
Yeah, exactly how I feel about it. Yeah.
What the fuck? Like they do some work and then just leave a massive mess and then leave, or don't show up when they say they're going to show up, or like the communications is shit. It's just like really?
And then the expensive trades like plumbers and electricians don't do it because their hours so expensive. Just get your labor to do it. Just put the extra hour in your invoice and clean up your mess.
It's like I came and cut your grass. I brought all my dogs with me. You're just lucky I cut your grass, and don't worry about the fact that my dogs left poop all over the lawn.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
Like, it's kind of like saying that.
Yeah, totally. It's ridiculous. So, like, I think
just be happy I cut your grass.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's where I mean the TLC. Have someone on your crew that care for the customers after they get left like that. You know. So yeah, that's happens too often.
That's okay. So residential TLC is a big one. Totally love that. That's good advice.
And the details. This is the people who want to know what they're paying for in their house. Maybe it's for insurance. Maybe it's for resale. Keep track of whatever. I feel they want the detail. You're doing something in their houses. They're gonna live in it. What's happening? What am I paying for? Right? And then you get to the commercial guys, where I think the more detail you put in is the more area you're giving them to just take from you. Just lump sum, all included. This is what we'll do it for. Then there's but I can get this material cheaper. Can you do it cheaper? Or I can get that for a better price. Or my delivery costs are less. Don't give them that. They know what they're doing. They know what things cost, but nothing you give them is ever cheap enough.
Makes sense. It's a good tip.
Yeah, that's the one where I know more detail.
And what about, because I think, does commercial not try and hammer more on price?
Oh, big time. And that's where the contract price comes in a lot handier, because you can look at your overall margin, what you can get guys to do it for, and you're not going back looking at all your material one by one. It's overall. Can we knock 5%? Yes or no?
Right.
No? Okay, tough. We're not negotiating anymore. Yes? Okay, here's our best price overall. And that's the way that they like it, because they just enter it into the budget and that's it. Easy for them, easy for you. It's just then on your own, obviously, you got to break it down how you need your system to function for your guys. And then that's the confusing part. But for them, just lump it up. Don't waste your time.
And be confident and dig your heels in.
Yeah. And if they debate price, this guy's cheaper than you, well, why? Is he supplying poorer quality thin set? We can do that if you want poorer quality material. We can adjust it for poor quality stuff if you'd like.
I think, so I'm glad you brought that up. I think a lot of trades, and even any other business, I think they forget they kind of forget the whole you get what you pay for thing.
Yeah,
So
big
I
time.
think that has two components. One is, like you just said, thin set, like a material. Like,
Yep,
are they using the same actual materials? Like, is it a McDonald's burger or is it a high steakhouse burger? Because those are two
there you
totally different things. So there's the actual material difference of you get what you pay for, and
go.
that's generally easier to talk about. But then there's this whole other discussion, which kind of summarizes what we've talked about today, which is you get what you pay for labor too.
Big time.
So we started the whole conversation today with this, like if you pay cheap labor, then the company you're hiring is either cheap labor or they're going to sub cheap labor, and you're going to get all sorts of mistakes, unprofessionalism. Like they're going to cut
Yep.
corners and it's going to come back to bite you. And then you're going to have to go hire the more expensive guy to fix it. And it's going to cost way more money because they got to take it apart,
And
redo it, fix it.
also,
Like,
they know you're in trouble here. They're going to charge you an arm and a leg because you're desperate now. They're going to
yeah.
charge you more than they would normally to do that job because they know you need it done now.
So I guess it's two things. It's having the confidence to say to your customer, so the general, whoever's hiring you, the developer, whatever it is, like, hey, here's an actual material difference. Like, I get it, they're cheaper, but there's a difference in the actual material you're buying. If you want the cheaper stuff, I can get it too. And then different conversations, being able to say to them, like, actually have the confidence to have the conversation to say, if you hire cheap labor, what's the ripple effect? Like,
Yep.
is there going to be mistakes? Is there going to be deficiencies? Are they going to screw up your other trades? Because that's another thing, right? You screw up other trades. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have the confidence to like, I think some of the developers and GCs, if you have that confidence and you explain it like that, that would tell them that you're not going to make those mistakes, and therefore they're willing to pay you a little more, which is going to be cheaper in the long run because they don't have to deal with the mistakes.
And then just peace of mind too. You can go home and relax. You don't have to worry that we will do something bad, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
It goes a long way, I think. Yeah. Big time. I had one funny situation on that. What are you going to get? You get what you pay for, right? I had one client, residential project, call me and ask me, why is this guy $2,500 cheaper? Like, it's like the same scope of work. And I was like, and what does it say in his notes on the quote? I was like, what if that retaining wall needs 2 extra lag bolts to put it back in place where it needs to be? Is he going to charge you for every single one of them and they'll all be additions? He's like, that's exactly what it says. I was like, well, if I need 3, I'm not going to add anything extra for you. There's your difference. I miscalculated originally. I quoted you. I need 3 more. Now it's my problem. We agreed on a price. I was like, that's so. He was like, go ahead. He went with him. He called us back.
Yeah, I think it's super common. Okay, so before we wrap up, is there a question I haven't asked you I should have asked? Is there any piece of advice, insight?
Big insight? Oh, I don't know. Big insight.
Even a little one.
Even a little one.
Yeah.
I think stay confident. The biggest points I think we touched on. Stay confident. Stay true to your price. Know what you're doing. Know your worth. And maybe spend the time to learn, especially if you're not the biggest social person, learn how to explain why you cost what you cost. And
that's a good one.
And another one is, at least for me personally, this works 99% of the time. If there's an opportunity in an email chain, a phone conversation, a text conversation where the client even hints or suggests they might be interested in a site visit, go and sell yourself and your company. You're going to go a lot further than answering emails.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. That's for us. I find if I don't go the quotes, bids we send out, hit and miss. We go 90% of the time we end up with that job.
Yeah.
And show up. Maybe the other guys didn't make the time to come see you, right? Show up.
Yep. Good one.
Yeah.
Okay, my man.
Okay.
Thank you.
That
was awesome. Thanks for listening to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave a comment or review as it helps with the algorithm. To learn more about us and what we do, check out our website. Until next time, go make it happen.